Ladies and gentlemen, today we are reflecting on a powerful principle that has the ability to transform every aspect of our lives. When we put God first, it not only shifts our priorities, but also reshapes our entire existence. Whether you're seeking purpose, clarity, or strength, putting God at the center changes everything. Let me share with you 6 key ways in which this principle can have a profound impact. So, in today's fast-paced world, we often find ourselves overwhelmed by the demands of life, whether it's work pressure, family responsibilities, or the constant influx of information through technology. It can feel like we are constantly on edge, racing against time. This ongoing stress and anxiety can take a toll on our mental and physical health, leaving us drained and uncertain. However, when we prioritize God and make Him the central focus of our lives, we tap into a profound source of inner peace that transcends all worldly distractions. Putting God first is an act of surrender. It is acknowledging that no matter how much we try to control every aspect of our lives, there is a greater power at work that holds the universe together. This surrender is not about giving up or being passive. Rather, it is about releasing the burden of trying to do everything on our own. When we place our trust in God, we allow ourselves to let go of the constant need for control, which brings an overwhelming sense of relief. In practical terms, this peace manifests as a calm in our hearts, even in the midst of chaos. Think about those times when life seems to be falling apart, whether it's an unexpected loss, a personal struggle, or a challenge at work. If we rely solely on our own strength and understanding, we may find ourselves overcome by anxiety and fear. But when we put God first, we are reminded that we are never truly alone in our struggles. We are reminded that God is with us, guiding us, and supporting us through every hardship. This awareness brings peace because it helps us to trust that everything, even our challenges, is part of a greater plan. So, let's worship the greater plan. This peace also comes from knowing that no matter how turbulent the external world may be, we have a solid foundation that will not waver. Our connection to God is unwavering and eternal, and it gives us a place to anchor our emotions and thoughts. By focusing on God first, we cultivate a sense of security that can't be shaken by external circumstances. The world around us may change, but God's presence in our lives remains constant, providing a sense of steadiness and calm. Furthermore, this peace isn't merely a temporary feeling, but a lasting state of being that permeates every area of our lives. It's like a deep, still river running beneath the surface of our daily activities. Even when we're facing difficulties, we can access this wellspring of peace through prayer, meditation, or simply quiet reflection. It reminds us that, even when the storm rages around us, we have access to a deep inner sanctuary that offers calm and reassurance. Finally, putting God first and embracing His peace also changes how we approach others. As we experience peace in our own hearts, we become more patient and compassionate toward others. We stop reacting impulsively to external triggers and instead begin to respond with empathy and understanding. This shift not only helps us maintain peace within ourselves, but also fosters peace in our relationships with others. It creates a ripple effect of calm that spreads beyond our individual lives and influences our families, communities, and workplaces. In summary, when we place God first, we unlock a wellspring of inner peace that is far beyond the fleeting comfort that the world offers. It is a peace that goes beyond circumstances, beyond the noise of life, and connects us to a deeper spiritual calm. In this peace, we find strength, clarity, and a sense of purpose that guides us through even the most difficult times. This divine peace becomes the foundation upon which we can build a life filled with love, joy, and unwavering trust. By expanding this key point, it highlights the deep, transformative nature of inner peace that comes from putting God first. The peace isn't just a fleeting feeling, but a profound, lasting state that reshapes how we interact with the world around us. When we put God first, it profoundly strengthens our resilience in the face of adversity. Life is full of challenges, whether personal struggles, health issues, financial difficulties, or emotional pain. In times of hardship, it's easy to feel overwhelmed or even hopeless. However, when we prioritize God and trust in His plan, We are given a strength that transcends our own human capacity to endure. This divine strength doesn't promise the absence of trials, but it equips us with the inner resilience to navigate life's storms with faith, perseverance, and grace. One of the key aspects of resilience rooted in faith is the understanding that our difficulties are not meaningless. When we trust in God, we come to recognize that our struggles can serve a greater purpose. While the challenges we face may seem difficult or unfair in the moment, they often carry lessons, opportunities for growth, and a deeper connection to our faith. God's presence in our lives allows us to reframe our pain and hardship as opportunities for spiritual transformation. Instead of seeing ourselves as victims of circumstance, we begin to see ourselves as active participants in a journey that is divinely ordained. This mindset shift changes how we respond to challenges. When we rely solely on our own strength, we may quickly feel depleted, frustrated, or powerless. But when we place God first, we draw from an infinite source of strength, His divine power. The Bible offers numerous passages that remind us of this. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, Philippians 4:13. And the Lord is my strength and my shield, Psalm 28:7. These verses remind us that we are not in this alone. In fact, when we lean on God, we gain access to a strength that is far beyond our own understanding or ability. Resilience rooted in faith also teaches us the importance of patience and trust. In our culture of instant gratification and quick fixes, we often expect immediate results when we face a challenge. We want our pain to end quickly, our problems to disappear, and our solutions to materialize overnight. However, God's timing is not always aligned with our own. Sometimes we must wait, trust, and endure through a process that can feel uncertain and prolonged. In these moments, placing God first enables us to trust in His perfect timing. We learn that resilience is not simply about getting through the difficulty, but about growing in patience, faith, and trust along the way. Another vital aspect of resilience through faith is the understanding that God provides us with peace, even in the midst of turmoil. When we face uncertainty, there's often an inner turmoil that accompanies the external chaos. Fear, worry, and anxiety can flood our minds, making it even harder to face the challenge at hand. However, when we prioritize God, He offers a peace that surpasses understanding, a peace that transcends our circumstances. This peace isn't about the absence of trouble, but about the presence of divine calm in our hearts. We can face the most difficult situations knowing that God is with us, that He is in control, and that His presence gives us the peace we need to endure. The resilience that comes from putting God first also changes how we perceive setbacks. Rather than seeing them as failures or signs that we are not on the right path, we begin to view them as part of the larger divine plan. Setbacks are often opportunities for redirection, correction, or even preparation for something greater. We learn to trust that God is using all things, both good and bad, for our ultimate good. This perspective helps us bounce back from adversity with renewed hope and determination, knowing that God can turn every obstacle into an opportunity for growth. With Jeff saying our last words, Friday counted 10. In addition, placing God first in our lives helps us develop a support system rooted in faith. While personal resilience is important, we were never meant to face life struggles in isolation. God places people in our lives to walk alongside us in times of difficulty: family, friends, and members of our faith community. When we put God at the center of our relationships, we experience a deeper sense of connection and mutual support. These relationships become a source of strength, encouragement, and love that help us endure through hard times. God's presence in our support system reinforces the idea that we are never truly alone, even in our most challenging moments. Moreover, resilience through God fosters a spirit of gratitude even in the midst of struggle. When we place God first, we begin to see that there is always something to be thankful for, even during difficult times. Gratitude shifts our focus from what we lack or what is wrong to what we have and what is right. This shift in perspective strengthens our resilience by reminding us that, despite our struggles, we are still blessed. We may not have everything we want, but we have everything we need, and God continues to provide for us in ways that are often unseen. This attitude of gratitude cultivates a sense of hope and determination that helps us push through difficulties with a positive outlook. Ultimately, putting God first allows us to approach life's challenges with an unshakable foundation. The storms of life may come, but we know that we are anchored in God's love and purpose. Resilience in this context is not about sheer willpower or stubbornness. It is about faith, trust, and surrender. It is about relying on God's strength and guidance rather than our own limited abilities. By placing God first, we develop an inner fortitude that not only helps us overcome adversity, but also helps us grow through it, becoming stronger, wiser, and more deeply connected to the divine purpose for our lives. Through God, we are empowered to rise above our struggles and emerge victorious, no matter what life throws our way. Putting God first profoundly elevates our relationships. In a world often focused on individual success, competition, and personal gain, placing God at the center of our lives redirects our focus from self-centeredness to selflessness. When we prioritize God, we begin to see others not as rivals or obstacles, but as fellow human beings deserving of love, respect, and compassion. This shift in perspective transforms how we interact with those around us. When God is at the forefront of our hearts, we are able to love more deeply and authentically. In the Christian tradition, we are called to love our neighbors as ourselves, but the deeper truth is that we must first love ourselves through God's eyes. When we place God first, we begin to understand our own worth and value, not based on external accomplishments or societal validation, but as beloved children of God. This inner recognition of love and worth enables us to extend the same grace, understanding, and compassion to others. Our relationships become less about expectation and more about unconditional love, which leads to more genuine connections. For example, in marriages, partnerships, or close friendships, when both individuals put God first, they establish a deeper bond that goes beyond the surface level. Conflict is viewed through a lens of forgiveness, patience, and empathy. We understand that we are all imperfect and that love means offering grace even in the midst of disagreement. God's love becomes the foundation that helps partners grow together, supporting each other not only in times of joy but also in times of struggle. It's about viewing each other as partners in a journey of mutual growth, with God guiding both people toward deeper understanding and compassion. End quote. In the realm of family, putting God first can help break cycles of dysfunction, misunderstanding, and brokenness. By leaning into divine guidance, family members can learn to communicate more effectively, understand one another's needs, and prioritize each other's well-being. This doesn't mean that challenges disappear, but it means we are equipped with the patience and wisdom to navigate difficulties with grace. God's presence in the home brings a spirit of peace, unity, and unconditional love that makes the family unit stronger and more resilient. When God is the central focus, we also begin to view strangers, acquaintances, and even people we disagree with in a different light. Instead of judgment or animosity, we develop compassion and empathy. We begin to see others as individuals who, just like us, are on a journey of growth and transformation. We no longer view the world in terms of us versus them, but understand that we are all part of the same human family. We stand at the impact. We are all part of the same human family. This leads to more peaceful, respectful, and harmonious relationships within our communities. Moreover, placing God first in our relationships doesn't just affect the way we interact with others, but also the way we treat ourselves. We are called to care for our own well-being, to treat our bodies and minds with the same love and care that God shows us. When we place God at the center, we begin to honor ourselves in a healthier, more balanced way. We recognize that our relationships with others will only be as strong as the relationship we have with ourselves. By nurturing our spiritual, emotional, and physical well-being through God's love, we create a stronger foundation for loving others well. Ultimately, when God is first in our relationships, we are transformed. We no longer view people through the lens of personal gain or self-interest. Instead, we engage with the world from a place of love, compassion, and service. We begin to see every interaction as an opportunity to share the love of God and build connections based on mutual respect and care. Through this shift in perspective, our relationships become a reflection of divine love, a love that is patient, kind, forgiving, and unshakable. When we put God first, one of the most profound effects is that it helps us align our personal purpose with a greater, more meaningful vision. In a world where many of us are constantly seeking success, recognition, and external validation, it's easy to become consumed by goals that are ultimately fleeting. We might chase after career achievements, material wealth, or social status, only to find that these accomplishments bring temporary satisfaction, but not lasting fulfillment. Lasting fulfillment. When we prioritize God in our lives, however, we are invited to view our purpose from a divine perspective, a perspective that is far more expansive, eternal, and rich with meaning. There's no stopping the growth, no stopping the transformation. When we place God first, we surrender our limited view of success and open ourselves to a much broader understanding of why we are here. Our lives are no longer just about personal achievement or the pursuit of superficial goals. They become about contributing to something far greater than ourselves. We begin to see that our true purpose is intricately linked to a divine plan, a purpose that is not solely about our own desires, but about serving a higher calling. This shift in perspective allows us to move beyond self-centered goals and tap into a deeper, more meaningful sense of fulfillment. Imagine that you are an artist tasked with painting a masterpiece. If you only focus on creating a beautiful image within a confined frame, you might produce something that's visually impressive but ultimately lacks depth. However, if you allow yourself to step back and look at the entire canvas, understanding that every stroke of paint fits into a greater overarching design, you begin to see that each moment of your life has a purpose. The masterpiece of your existence becomes more than a collection of individual achievements. It becomes part of a larger, interconnected story that is unfolding in alignment with God's plan for you. When we align our purpose with God's greater vision, our perspective changes in profound ways. We begin to ask deeper questions. What am I meant to contribute to the world? How can I use my talents and gifts to serve others? How can I live in a way that reflects the love, compassion, and grace that God has shown me? These questions move us beyond the limitations of self-interest and into the realm of service and connection. We begin to see that true fulfillment lies not in personal accolades, but in living a life that is in harmony with divine purpose. This alignment also helps us discern the right path when faced with difficult decisions. In times of uncertainty, when the choices before us seem overwhelming or unclear, putting God first gives us the clarity we need to make decisions that are in harmony with our higher purpose. We no longer rely solely on our own understanding, but trust that God will guide us toward the right path. This sense of divine direction gives us the courage to make decisions that may seem countercultural or unconventional, knowing that they are in alignment with a higher calling. And this is ultimately what allows separation from its parallel, leads to true America in the distant future. That's what I get right here. Additionally, aligning with a greater vision helps us develop a sense of peace about our place in the world. In a society that often emphasizes competition and comparison, we may feel tempted to measure our worth against others. But when we put God first and align ourselves with a larger divine purpose, we are no longer concerned with outdoing others or meeting societal standards. Our worth is no longer defined by external metrics, but by our relationship with God and the way we live out our purpose in the world. This alignment with a greater vision also calls us to embrace growth and transformation. It encourages us to shed old patterns of behavior, outdated beliefs, and unhelpful habits in favor of becoming the person we are truly meant to be. As we continue to seek God's will for our lives, we undergo a process of personal growth that aligns us more closely with our true calling. This transformation is not always easy, but it is deeply rewarding as we step into the fullness of who we were created to be. Ultimately, putting God first shifts our focus from the temporary and the material to the eternal and the spiritual. Our purpose no longer revolves around fleeting achievements, but becomes a sacred journey of alignment with a divine vision. A vision that transcends time and places, our lives in the context of something far greater than we can fully comprehend. When we align our purpose with God's greater plan, we find that our lives become filled with meaning, peace, and fulfillment. When we put God first, it opens the door to a life of greater abundance, not necessarily in terms of material wealth, but in spiritual, emotional, and relational richness. Our understanding of abundance shifts dramatically when we make God the center of our lives. Instead of seeking fulfillment through possessions, status, or the fleeting pleasures of this world, we learn that true abundance comes from God's provision and the peace, joy, and fulfillment that flow from living according to His will. The first aspect of this divine abundance is spiritual fulfillment. When we put God first, we find that our spiritual needs are met in a way that nothing else can satisfy. Many of us search for meaning in places that leave us empty, whether it's through work, relationships, or material things. These pursuits, while they may provide temporary satisfaction, fail to fill the deepest longing of the human heart, the desire for connection with the Creator. By prioritizing God, we experience a deeper sense of purpose, clarity, and peace that transcends the temporary pleasures of the world. In His presence, we are made whole. As Jesus said, "I have come that they may have life and have it to the full," John 10. This fullness of life is not about accumulating wealth or success, but about experiencing spiritual richness, peace, and joy that only God can give. In addition to spiritual fulfillment, putting God first brings emotional abundance. In a world where anxiety, fear, and stress are prevalent, God's presence in our lives offers a source of deep emotional stability. The Bible speaks of God's peace, which transcends all understanding, Philippians 4:7. When we make God the center of our lives, we are reminded that we are never alone. He is with us through every emotional storm. His peace guards our hearts and minds, giving us the strength to face challenges with grace and resilience. Rather than relying on our own understanding or trying to control our emotions, we learn to trust God with our fears and worries. This emotional stability allows us to live with greater joy and less anxiety, fostering a sense of emotional abundance that comes from knowing that God is in control and we are safe in His care. Relational abundance is another key aspect that flows from putting God first. Human relationships are deeply affected by how we prioritize God in our lives. When God is central, we are better equipped to love others unconditionally. We are called to love our neighbors as ourselves, but this is only possible when we experience God's love first. As we grow in our understanding of God's love for us, we are empowered to reflect that same love to others. Our relationships become characterized by forgiveness, patience, grace, and understanding. We are no longer driven by selfish desires, but by a desire to serve and bless those around us. This shift in mindset leads to more meaningful, authentic, and supportive relationships that are marked by mutual respect and love. Putting God first also leads to an abundance of purpose. When we align our lives with God's will, we begin to see that our lives have eternal significance. We are part of something much larger than ourselves, and every action we take, no matter how small, is part of a larger divine purpose. This sense of purpose gives our lives direction and meaning. Instead of drifting aimlessly or feeling unfulfilled by the pursuit of transient goals, we find fulfillment in knowing that we are fulfilling God's plan for our lives. This divine purpose infuses every day with meaning, whether we are at work, in our families, or serving our communities. We are no longer motivated solely by personal ambition, but by a higher calling to live out God's will in all areas of our lives. Additionally, placing God first opens the door to an abundance of opportunities. When we align ourselves with God's plan, we often find that doors open in unexpected ways. God is a generous provider, and He promises to give us what we need. This doesn't necessarily mean that we will experience wealth or material success, but it does mean that God will provide what is necessary for us to fulfill our purpose and His plan for our lives. Opportunities for growth, learning, and service often emerge when we place our trust in God. We begin to see challenges as opportunities for growth and view setbacks as moments of learning and refinement. Our perspective shifts from scarcity to abundance, understanding that God's provision is never limited and that He is always working to bless us in ways that align with His perfect plan. Amen. Finally, when we put God first, we experience the ultimate abundance, eternal life. The greatest gift that God offers us is the promise of eternal life through Jesus Christ. This gift is not just a future hope, but an abundant life that begins here on earth and continues for eternity. By placing God first, we are invited into a life that is both filled with the richness of His love now and promises the fulfillment of that love for all eternity. This eternal perspective changes everything. It shifts our focus from the temporary and the fleeting to the eternal and the lasting. We begin to live with a sense of hope, knowing that our ultimate destiny is secure in God's hands. In summary, putting God first leads to an abundance that transcends the limits of the material world. It brings spiritual fulfillment, emotional stability, relational depth, a sense of purpose, abundant opportunities, and the hope of eternal life. This divine abundance transforms our lives, filling us with peace, joy, and a deep sense of purpose. Now, as we prioritize God in all things, we open ourselves to a richness that nothing in this world can offer. An abundance that flows from the heart of God Himself,